Last night, in a race for a seat on Wisconsin's state Supreme Court, voters chose the Democratic-backed liberal candidate Chris Taylor over her Republican opponent by more than 20 points. And even in multiple counties that Trump won in 2024 by nearly 30 points, the liberal candidate won.
Okay, Katie, one thing that we should also see, Mark is right, the midterms right now look ugly, unless the Republicans really get serious.
Mayor's race in a deep red district spells trouble for Trump and the GOP come November.
But wait, there's more. It's not the only race. In Waukesha County, a hotbed typically for Republicans in Wisconsin, a Democratic candidate there flipped the mayoral seat in the county's biggest city, and school board candidates in multiple towns there ousted conservative school board members who align with the right-wing book banning movement. In Georgia, Democrats had their biggest overperformance in a special congressional race this entire election cycle in the most conservative district in the state. Last night, Democrat Sean Harris slashed 25 points off President Trump's 2024 margin in Georgia's 14th district in the special election to fill Marjorie Taylor Greene's vacancy, giving us just yet another snapshot pointing to a nationwide shift towards Democrats happening right now, just ahead of the midterms.
A Democrat just won the mayor's race in Waukesha, a suburb of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a deep red area. Alicia Halvenspin beat the Republican state representative Scott Allen. So huge. A Democrat hasn't been a mayor in that town in years. This is being called a political earthquake because of how unlikely it was for a Democrat to win in this longtime Republican stronghold. The fact is that the GOP, the Trump policies, are very unpopular. This wasn't the only political earthquake mayor's race we've seen recently. A Democrat won for the first time in 30 years the mayor's position in Boca Raton, Florida.
All right. Brand new this morning. The results are in from elections and special elections. We talked about Georgia, a special election race there with a huge shift to the Democrats, the biggest we have seen in years. Also, elections in Wisconsin. With us to discuss what they mean and what they mean for you, CNN chief data analyst Harriet. And I'm getting serious here because these results tell a pretty serious story in Wisconsin. Big shifts toward the Democratic Party.
Holy Toledo. Holy smokes, holy cow. What are we talking about here? I mean, look at these shifts. Okay, and I want to put this into historical perspective for you. Dems liberal exceeding the previous presidential vote. So in 2025, 2026 cycle, we're talking about exceeding Kamala Harris. Look at this. We're talking about exceeding Kamala Harris, the liberal candidate did, by 21 points. 21 points. And this is part of a pattern, right? In Virginia governor, we saw the Democrat there exceeding Kamala Harris by 10, New Jersey governor by 8. And this is even better than what Democrats had back in the 2017, 2018 cycles, where they were exceeding Hillary Clinton's baseline, but by 12, 4, and less than a point. So this time around, oh my goodness gracious, holy cow, holy smokes, holy Toledo. And of course, remember, Democrats took the House in 2018. And I will note that Wisconsin Supreme Court performance last night by Chris Taylor was the best for a liberal candidate in an open seat in at least 30 years.
So this was the race that we saw last night in Wisconsin, a Wisconsin Supreme Court seat, a 9-point swing there. What about Georgia in perspective? That was a special election for Marjorie Taylor Greene's House seat. Put that in perspective.
Yeah, you think a 21-point overperformance versus the Kamala Harris baseline is impressive. That ain't got nothing on what happened in Georgia. Look at this. Okay, again, putting this in perspective, 2025, 2026, U.S. House special elections. How much did the Democrats outrun Kamala Harris's baseline from 2024? Look at this. In Georgia, 25 percentage points. My goodness gracious. That beat all the other Dem overperformances, and they've overperformed in all of them. So we're even getting higher than the highest of heights. We're talking 13 in Tennessee, 7, 17 in Arizona, 7, 17 in Virginia, 11, 16 in Florida, 6, 23 in Florida, 1, and all of a sudden we're talking 25 points. The biggest Dem overperformance in a special congressional election since 2017 when Doug Jones won that Alabama special Senate election.
Of course, the Democratic win in the mayor's race is not the only significant win coming out of Wisconsin. The Supreme Court race, the Democrat Chris Taylor won by the state by 20 points. against the Republican conservative candidate. Even closing the margins and Republican strongholds, the voters are sending a message, and they're not happy with Trump and the GOP's policy. The fact is, the Wisconsin Supreme Court now has a Democrat liberal majority 5-2. Meaning that so many issues that are important right now, because the Supreme Court has essentially left now a lot of issues to the states, such as the right to have an abortion or not. The state Supreme Courts become essential, whether or not it is about the redistricting fights in those states, or it's about voting rights in those states, or it's about the right to choice of having an abortion or not. So having a 5-2 majority, all 5 being female, actually, is significant. And this only happens when voters are so unhappy with the party in charge, which is clearly the Republicans holding all branches of government and yet failing on literally every level to the voters, whether or not it be about the war, or whether it be about the economy, or even about fraud and waste and DOGE, which did absolutely nothing to the Pentagon, which is the one department who has never passed an audit, but instead cut money for HIV medicine around the world, which only actually helps uplift the world and actually help the economy then. They have been a mess on every front. Never mind ICE and terrorizing and killing American citizens in the streets. And the voters are sending this message.
We should be for raising the minimum wage in the United States. That's one of many issues. A second I'll just give you is, democracy underlying it all. But a really important issue is they're taking away our voting rights. They're taking away your voting rights. And we have got to fight like hell to preserve those rights. So many people lost their lives doing it. Jesse Jackson, so proud to be from the state that Jesse Jackson called home. And I can tell you that we needed him now more than ever. The loss of Jesse Jackson is, frankly, it's almost hard to believe we're living in a world. My whole life, Jesse Jackson has been a beacon of fighting for voting rights and civil rights. And I must say, it is at this moment when all of us need to be civil rights activists. All of us. If we don't have a fair election in November, we won't have any more elections. Everybody has to show up, and you have to show up with purpose. And I don't care if Donald Trump, he's going to try to call out ICE and CBP and scare people away from the polls. Everybody, he's going to make it seem like you shouldn't vote. We need to go with purpose and push them out of the way, or at least tell them to get out of the way, and go in and vote. And all of us as governors need to protect your right to vote.
The loss by the Republican candidate in the mayor's race in Waukesha County is also significant because that district sends a Republican to Congress. And perhaps those seats that Republican once thought were safe seats because they were in deep red areas are no longer safe anymore. And this is how voters send a message by not only flipping seats in contested areas, but flipping seats in areas Republicans once thought were safe. When you have the leader of your party out on Truth Social threatening the extermination of an entire civilization, and your representative to Congress says nothing and does nothing but pass laws that close hospitals and medical centers in your area, then perhaps you as a Republican either just decide not to vote or decide to vote for the Democrat. It's flipping seats in even red districts that would send the message and help change the way the government works for the people.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.